Regular viewers of the show will know I have been warning about the Great Reset. This is the globalist, climate-focused, multinational, big tech agenda proposed by some extremely powerful, but, important to note, unelected and undemocratic globalist bodies, such as the United Nations, the International Monetary Fund, the World Economic Forum, and others, including, disgracefully, Prince Charles. In expensive and lavish advertisements, these globalist organisations and individuals boast that, quote, after the Great Reset, which they liken to the pushing of a button, you will own nothing, but you will be happy. What's more, you will simply rent everything in your life, and it will be delivered by drones. They call it servitization, which sounds a little too close to servitude for my liking. But as I said, they're not shy about what they are proposing, servitization. In fact, they boast about it. America will be in decline by 2030, they say, and other superpowers will have taken over, including China, and big tech and big data will control every aspect of our lives. So remember, this is these globalist organisations boasting of this as a good thing. So please stop accusing me of peddling crazy conspiracy theories. I'm not the one selling this one world government claptrap. They are, and they are selling it hard.
Now is the historical moment, the time, not only to fight severe virus, but to shape the system.
We have a unique but rapidly shrinking window of opportunity to learn lessons and reset ourselves on a more sustainable path. It is an opportunity we have never had before and may never have again. So we must use all the levers we have at our disposal, knowing that each and every one of us has a vital role to play.
What is it that would make it so that history would look at this crisis as the great opportunity for reset?
The Great Reset is a welcome recognition that this human tragedy must be a wake-up call. Rebalancing investment, harnessing science and technology, and advancing the transition to net zero emissions, all elements of the Great Reset, are fundamental to building the future we need.
We not only have to demand change, but also create change.
We have to live up to the expectations which we have created, and we will do so.
We will do so. In fact, Klaus Schwab, the head of the World Economic Forum and mastermind of the Great Reset, that's him, has insisted that COVID-19 must be seized as the moment to introduce his Great Reset. And indeed, Prince Charles, as you heard, urges that we apply the same authoritarian approach, all the levers of government, that we use to crush the virus to reduce our carbon emissions. You know, handcuffing pregnant women in their pajamas, knocking down doors, that sort of stuff. Leading us to the Fourth Industrial Revolution.
The Fourth Industrial Revolution will impact our lives completely. It will not only change how we communicate, how we produce, how we consume. It will change actually us, our own identity.
Change us. Okay, so how does all of this actually happen? Well, first come all those slogans. Any talk about resetting the economy, or building back better, which is the new socialist catchphrase, or servitization, or stronger cities, or the new normal. These are all part of the Great Reset vocabulary. When you hear these phrases, grab your wallet and head for the door. These are not accidental phrases. They are embedded within bureaucracies, political parties of the left, and many left-leaning or woke corporations who want you to finance their wacky climate and collectivist fantasies. Indeed, the World Economic Forum is now so brazenly of the left that it not only advocates a global leadership position for China over America, it claims capitalism itself needs a dose of Marxism, a bit like, I guess, the Easter Bunny needs a dose of myxomatosis. But as I say, you and I never voted for anybody to reset our economy. We never voted for anyone to reset our legal rights so that we don't own property anymore. We never voted for servitisation, and we never voted for authoritarian rule by big tech and big data. However, you probably did, as did I, vote for Scott Morrison and the coalition at the last election. Scott Morrison is fully aware of this globalist agenda. Recently, he even coined the phrase negative globalism. And then when the lovies jumped all up and down hysterically, he changed his tune and modified it to include the positives of globalism as well. But sensibly, here was the Prime Minister a couple of weeks ago saying that Australia's national interest must always take precedence over globalist and climate alarmism.
We must take these lessons into 2021 and continue to make our own way through this crisis, our Australian way, that respects our liberal democratic values, our expert institutions, our business-led market economy, and the responsibilities and accountabilities of our federal system. In Australia, my government will not tax our way to net zero emissions. I will not put that cost on Australians. And I will particularly not ask regional Australians to carry that burden.
So far, so good, because of course taxing carbon emissions is a key plank of the Great Reset. But the most reassuring comment Scott Morrison made was in London at the end of last year.
We don't need to reset our economic agenda. We just need to get on with it.
Scott Morrison rarely leans on one word so heavily, but he did then. Indeed, he could not have been more emphatic. A clear and unequivocal rejection by the elected Australian Prime Minister of the Great Reset. Here it is again, just so there's no mistake.
We don't need to reset our economic agenda.
Now, I'll come back to Scott Morrison's commitment in a tick. But first, part of the Great Reset boast is that there are already hundreds of influential organisations around the world sympathetic to the Reset agenda. I wonder if this might be one of them. Chartered Accountants Australia and New Zealand is a highly influential body, formerly known as the respected Institute of Chartered Accountants. They represent more than 128,000 financial professionals, accountants, many of whom are partners or staff in our top professional accounting firms and in industry, government and elsewhere. Your accountant may very well be a member of Chartered Accountants, in which case I'd be, well, raising an eyebrow or getting a little nervous. Many of Chartered Accountants' members are in exceedingly important positions of influence and power over our day-to-day economic decisions and activity. For some woke corporate reason or other, Chartered Accountants currently insist that they are difference makers, whatever that means. But it now appears they do intend to make a difference. In just under 3 weeks, on March the 5th, Chartered Accountants are holding a members-only online meeting with 3 keynote speakers. The name of the conference is, according to the email they sent out to all their members, and I kid you not, Ready to Reset. And the event is, quote, a panel discussion to help shape the policy reset at this crucial time, and attendees will learn about the vital role Chartered Accountants will play working together to reset, to promote more sustainable outcomes. Several accountants sent this email that was sent to them to me. Indeed, the Chartered Accountants now even get their own, on their website, Reset resources, tips to help them thrive in the new normal, oh, there's that phrase, and reinvent the way we work because there's no going back. Resources, they say, you need to readjust, rebuild, yep, there it is, and re-embark. Reset, 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 rebuild. Plenty of the language in their email and on their website comes straight out of the Great Reset ads and promos. So, I know you're dying to know, who are these 3 individuals who, according to the email sent out by Chartered Accountants, are ready to reset, ? Our financial world for us, or their financial world. Do they have any right to do so? Do they have any power? Well, the first keynote speaker is New Zealand's Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Grant Robertson. No surprise there, his boss, Jacinda Ardern, is a pin-up girl for the Great Reset, a former head of International Socialist Youth, an avowed climate cultist and China fan who has presided over the decimation of New Zealand's economic prospects, whilst she jauntily promises to build back better. Hooah! As Carl Dufresne writes in this week's Spectator Australia, for Jacinda Ardern's Labor, the economy is not so much about generating income as redistributing it. So, her Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister, Grant Robertson, definitely fits the bill for the Great Reset. Tick. Good choice. Second speaker is Ainsley Van Onselen. Ainsley is the CEO of Chartered Accountants Australia and New Zealand. And I'm guessing the Reset meeting is presumably her brainchild. Ainsley has a crowded CV, including a stint as Westpac's Global Director of Women's Markets and Inclusion and Diversity. She's also a litigation law partner and a law academic, so it is safe to assume Ainsley chooses her words carefully, and the constant references to reset in her email invitation and on the website are deliberate and not accidental, and it is therefore safe to assume she shares and approves of, if not all, certainly much of the Great Reset agenda and goals. So, a well-credentialed speaker, big tick for Ainsley. But it's the third speaker that, concerns me, to put it mildly. The third speaker, as advertised on the Chartered Accountants email and website, is the Federal Treasurer of Australia, Josh Frydenberg. His name and his image and his office are prominently featured to promote the Chartered Accountants Ready to Reset ? Event. This is clearly not in keeping with Josh Frydenberg's agenda, which is all about the here and now, or the Prime Minister's, which, I repeat, is...
We don't need to reset our economic agenda.
So, what's going on here? I'd quite like to know, and so would all those chartered accountants out there. What are the Chartered Accountants of Australia and New Zealand? Why are they using Josh Frydenberg's image and name and office to endorse the Ready to Reset event? What Australian economic and financial policy resets, which are in the promotional blurb, are they talking about, or do they imagine that the Treasurer might be talking about? And is the Treasurer himself aware that his image and his policies, by extension, are being shoehorned by chartered accountants into an advert for some supposed policy reset? What on earth, I would like to know, are accountants, chartered accountants in particular, my accountant, I don't know if he's a chartered accountant or not, but what are chartered accountants doing playing footsies with the movement, the Great Reset, that hopes to abolish private property ownership? For instance, how many chartered accountants out there believe you will own nothing and you will be happy? How many chartered accountants are aware even of the Great Reset agenda? And are they aware that Ready to Reset basically sounds like it's part of the Great Reset agenda? How many chartered accountants would go along with the idea that the capitalist economy needs to be reset along Marxist lines? How many chartered accountants would there be who agree in a universal basic wage, which is another mooted plank of the Reset agenda? Tomorrow morning, I'll be phoning my accountant. I'll be asking him if he is a member of Chartered Accountants, and if so, how long he intends to remain one. It will be a very short conversation. And as for the Treasurer, I would advise him to pull out of this event immediately, unless they remove all references to a reset from the promotional blurb. If Chartered Accountants needs a sympathetic third speaker who is ready to reset, as the email suggests, I'm sure Klaus Schwab or Prince Charles would quite happily step in.